was trying to explain what they were, RICO crimes, and she was saying RICO is not a crime.
I saw
it's
this.
a category of crime. Like, okay.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category
crime?
of crimes that you're then charged
You
under
have charges.
a long 100.
You have charges.
It's so dumb to say that publicly, like,
Well,
and say it with confidence to tell a person.
That's the thing. The marriage of ineptitude and high self-esteem is.
Yeah, it's
really
funny.
the marker of our time.
Sir,
Want
please
me to name the exact statute
Sir,
under RICO?
yes.
Oh, well, it's funny. In this committee room, everyone's not here. There's over 18.
All right, sir, I reclaim my...
Joe Rogan once admired AOC, but now that admiration has burned to ash. The unfiltered podcasting titan recently unloaded on the New York representative, tearing apart what he calls her dangerously disconnected ideas. Rogan believes AOC's stance on the economy and immigration isn't just naive, it's a blueprint for dismantling everything America is built on. The takedown was savage. It was relentless, and it was deeply personal. So, smash that subscribe button because
this ball where all they do is celebrate extravagance and wealth, and you have a dress that says tax the rich. Like, what are you doing? Like, that dress is preposterous pose.
because we're just getting started. Rogan opened fire on AOC's legendary performative politics, and he didn't hold back. When the New York representative received an invitation to one of the most glamorous, elite-soaked galas on the planet, she didn't decline out of solidarity with the working class. No, she showed up, champagne crowd and all, draped in a gown boldly screaming, "Tax the rich." Rogan's reaction? Pure disbelief. If your convictions run that deep, why not simply refuse the invitation? Why attend the very spectacle you claim to despise? But Rogan didn't stop there. He went straight for the jugular on AOC's beloved "tax the rich" mantra, exposing what he sees as a glaring contradiction she conveniently ignores. The rich already carry a crushing share of America's tax burden, contributing far more than the average.
First of all, you've got incompetent use of funds. Like,
where does the money go?
Exactly.
All our tax. Where
this
does it go?
idea that if you tax the rich, that all of a sudden all the problems will stop existing. That is so silly. You still have incompetent people that are distributing the money. They'll just create more jobs. There'll be more red tape,
And we get more in
bureaucrats.
debt.
Yeah. What we got to do is figure out a real plan for engineering our civilization better.
Average citizen ever will. To Rogan, it's not a policy position, it's a costume. And Rogan has a point that cuts straight to the bone. The real crisis was never about squeezing more money out of the wealthy. It's about what happens to that money once Washington gets its hands on it. America has already extracted staggering sums from its highest earners, and the burning question nobody in power wants to answer is, where did it all go? Crumbling infrastructure, bloated bureaucracies, endless mismanagement, the receipts don't lie. So before AOC and her allies come demanding another pound of flesh from the rich, perhaps they should account for the mountain of wealth already collected and seemingly swallowed whole by a broken, inefficient system. What's the guarantee, the ironclad, undeniable guarantee, that this next round of taxation won't vanish into the same bottomless...
My favorite interviews was when AOC was talking to that lady and she asked her to expand.
About Israel-Palestine?
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Well, I believe absolutely in Israel's right to exist.
She just collapsed into herself?
It's literally like a fifth grader that didn't study.
Looked at that incident more through just as an incident.
And then they ask you about the subject, or you didn't read the book. Well, you know, it's about Billy and his dog.
What people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is...
But the crazy thing about that interview is that so her first comment comes off with like total authority.
I am a proponent of a two-state solution.
One little follow-up question. Question's like, well, what do you mean by that? And then you just see her get weaker and weaker.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
But what do you mean by that? It's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Yeah. She literally goes, I'm really not the expert.
Do you think you can expand on that?
I am not the expert at geopolitics on this issue.
She just gave
it. Until Washington proves it can be trusted with the money it already has, the tax the rich war cry rings dangerously hollow. And perhaps this was the precise moment Joe Rogan's last shred of admiration for AOC crumbled beyond repair. Because she didn't just sound unconvincing, she sounded hollow. When pressed on the brutal, never-ending conflict tearing through the Middle East, AOC had a golden opportunity to demonstrate the depth and substance she so loudly claims to possess. Instead, she delivered a masterclass in evasion, a dizzying, tangled cascade of words that said everything and meant absolutely nothing. No clarity, no courage, no conviction. Just the polished art of political deflection wrapped in progressive vocabulary. It was the kind of non-answer that confirms every suspicion critics have hurled at her for years. Credit must go to the interviewer who refused to let her off the hook.
From all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship. We'll have folks that might say, look at these systems, you know, that our shelter system has weight and things like that. But one of the reasons that our public systems experience weight is because people don't have a documented and reliable path to work and sustain themselves, just like all of our ancestors did and our grandparents.
Pushing hard, demanding real answers, and ultimately pulling back the curtain for the entire world to see exactly who AOC is when the comfortable script runs out. When Rogan heard AOC's stance on immigration, something visceral ignited inside him, and you could feel the temperature in the room shift. The proposition itself, he argued, defies basic logic. Dramatically loosen America's border policy, allow far higher levels of migration, and then pour precious, already strained resources into documenting every single one of them. Who foots that bill? The already overburdened American taxpayer. That's who. This isn't compassion, it's chaos with a progressive label slapped on it. The financial pressure alone could put serious strain on America's already stretched public finances, and AOC waves it away as though the numbers simply don't exist. But here's the question that silences the room and exposes the entire fantasy. If AOC's open border vision is so righteous and so workable, why?
Like AOC was on TV the other day doing an interview, and she was saying, you know, she was calling them undocumented people, and the way to do it is to give them a path to citizenship. Well, how about you know who the fuck they are? Because if you're a person from another country, say if you're in Europe and you want to come to America and become an American citizen, you know, you're an architect or whatever, this is like a long, lengthy process. And they only take a certain amount of people every year, and you have to prove that you have a skill. There's a reason why you should be here.
Its own beloved icon, deport more people than Donald Trump? That single fact doesn't just challenge her argument, it demolishes it. Rogan dismantles AOC's immigration argument with surgical, unrelenting precision, and he does it effortlessly. Because here's the truth, he argues, that AOC conveniently dances around. The pathway to American citizenship already exists. It isn't hidden. It isn't broken. It's a deliberately rigorous, meticulously structured process, and it was built that way for rock-solid reasons. That process exists to filter out those fleeing accountability, criminals, fugitives, and bad actors attempting to bury their past beneath a fresh American start. But beyond security, it serves an equally vital purpose: identifying and welcoming the brightest, the most driven, and the most capable individuals the world has to offer. People who will pour their talent, ambition, and energy directly into strengthening America's foundation. AOC frames the existing system as cruel and exclusionary. Rogan sees it for example.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met.
Wow, she used to own a Tesla car. Damn, she don't own a Tesla anymore.
Exactly what it is: a necessary, protective, and ultimately patriotic mechanism for ensuring that American greatness isn't just preserved, but continually elevated. Rogan didn't stop there. He turned up the heat on AOC's pointed criticism of Elon Musk, and the roast was absolutely merciless. The glaring, inconvenient truth: AOC once owned a Tesla. She didn't just tolerate Musk's existence. She literally put her money where her mouth was and invested in his vision. But the moment Musk's political compass swung away from her ideological camp, the admiration evaporated overnight. Suddenly, he became the villain of her story. This, Rogan argues, is the politics of breathtaking convenience. Worship your allies, then crucify them the moment they stray. It's petty. It's transparent. And voters are watching. But here's what AOC dangerously
The result of that decision, let's take us to where we are today, is that Elon Musk, and I know Elon was on your show, and he's here in Austin, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And we could talk about Elon, but he spent $270 million to elect Trump as president. Okay. I think that's absurd that any one person.
What's the most someone donated towards the Harris campaign?
They spent a lot of money on Harris as
They
well.
spent $1.5 billion just
Combined.
over the course of a couple of months.
You got it. All right, let me talk about it. So
Yeah,
I'm not here
let's
just
talk
to say
about
it's
that.
a Republican. That's my point here.